Welcome, everybody. It is Monday, March 5th, 2018. This is the Kubernetes 110 release meeting. I am Jace Singer-Dumars, the release lead for 110, and happy to lead us through today's meeting. If you're looking after the fact and want to see the agenda and things we talked about, it's available at bit.ly/Kates110-burndown. Without further ado, timeline for this week. We need to close out docs PRs and get docs in good shape, generally speaking. That includes release notes. Hopefully we have a draft that we can start reviewing soon. There's a lot of stuff that we still need to figure out there. We're going to have a meeting hopefully soon to talk about what is actually supposed to be tagged in there as far as the release notes label goes. And that's still TBD. Obviously, we have a couple weeks to sort it out. It's not the most urgent thing in the world, and there's not new. There shouldn't be too many new things going in for release notes, so we'll figure it out. But again, it's in process. We need to figure out release health, release branch health. So basically, sorting out what flakes are real and what are flakes and what are real, and basically figure that out. And make sure that nothing has gone into the release branch that's going to destabilize it, and we continue that trend forward. Marketing is proceeding. We're reviewing the blog and making sure that it syncs up with what's actually being delivered. There was a change in terms of delivery on TLS bootstrapping, so that's kind of depressing that that's not going GA this time around. But alas, 111, we'll see TLS bootstrapping, I'm sure. Next week is when the stuff gets real. We start the Monday through Friday burndown meetings, and we see the end of code freeze and do the final branch fast forwards and all that good stuff. So basically, we're going to release the floodgates, assuming that we're in a good position to do so. In the past, we have delayed that for various reasons, and if we need to this time, we will. Basically, after that point, once the branch reopens, then we basically are in the business of cherry picking specific things. So hopefully it's a low volume. The reason that we do fast forwards during this code freeze period is because it's just kind of a pain to do cherry picks. So having the release frozen allows us to do fast forwards because there shouldn't be getting anything to master that isn't specifically for the release. Next week, we'll probably also do our first prediction on go, no go. That's important because we're going to have to make our best guess so that we can time marketing activities and all the stuff that goes along with the release. Hopefully, we'll be able to get some consensus on if things look on track or not. And next week, we're going to probably be all focusing on docs in one way or another because that seems to be how it rolls. And cleaning up tests, cleaning up all the stuff to make sure that we have good signal. So moving along, any questions or concerns with the timeline stuff? Oh, there's things in chat. Oh, no, no. Can anybody let me know if that's better?
Much better.
Curses. Okay. So I just did a monologue there. Yeah, this week, docs, stuff. Next week, crunch time, etc. That was the TLDR. Metrics review, we've got 27 open issues in the milestone. 14 of these are in a state that could get dropped by the bot. There's 15 failing test issues. It's quite high, but that's a good thing. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Josh will go into probably more detail if he's here.
Yeah, I'm here.
So let's go ahead and move into that stuff. Do you want to give a rundown, Josh?
Yeah, we haven't finished updating the issue tracking yet this morning from the weekend. What mostly seems to have happened is we've gotten a whole bunch of new test bugs. They're actually only sort of new, as in there was a major test failure and it's been broken out into a whole bunch of individual test failures because they belong to different SIGs. I'll let Signal comment a little bit more about that because he's the one who opened all of them. So Numerically, it's a bunch more issues. It's not actually a new failure. It's just being more specific about a failure that happened last week. In the meantime, a bunch of issues I think have been closed. I haven't gotten around to updating which issues have been closed yet. So I don't have details on that. But it looks like in terms of stuff that's still open, we're mostly looking at, as you'd expect at the stage, test failures. I don't see a pattern necessarily in the test failures. There's a bunch of upgrade tests that are failing, but then there's a bunch that are passing, as far as I can tell. The issues of special concern remain the same as they were on Friday, namely the stale reads problem and what was the other one? Wrong one. Sorry, the stale reads problem. I'm trying to remember what the other one is. Oh, right, the memory increase. So we had a major issue with a potentially huge memory increase by the API server, memory usage increase by the API server. Analyzing that was being deterred by a scalability test flake. The scalability test flake is supposedly now fixed. So I'm now waiting for an update on whether or not the memory usage increase is real. If it is real, that will be another issue of particular concern because we can't really double the memory usage of the API server without a good reason. No new issues of special concern that I've seen. There is one thing that's actually come up in terms of tests and issues against tests, which is that we had one issue against a conformance test that turns out to be apparently caused by a bad update push to the conformance test. And this raised the whole question of how we're treating the conformance test for this release, because a lot of the conformance tests are relatively new and still kind of works in progress, which makes me ask whether or not for new conformance tests we are considering failures in those conformance tests to be blockers.
Okay, so on that note, this is sort of a new thing that we have to look at. So it's an interesting new flavor of test flake or test issue. And I guess, the conversation basically said that this is new in this release. My feeling on it is that whatever we're using to get good signal on terms of release health or release quality, even conformance or otherwise, even if it's new, that doesn't necessarily mean that that it should be disregarded. But we definitely need to have an integration period where we study what it's actually telling us about the release, and maybe some specialist input in terms of if it's actually a flake or not, and if the assumptions around the conformance are correct. So we need to figure that out. I'm not sure what the best way to do that is. I know that Tim Sinclair's been pretty involved in that. Jordan, have you had much to do with that? Is that kind of in your zone at all, or is that?
The conformance test or the upgrade test?
The conformance specifically.
Only to the degree that it touched the SIGs I'm in. I would say that if we have a conformance test that doesn't pass against the release we cut, it should be untagged as a conformance test because these are the standards by which distributions are measured. And so it doesn't matter whether we ran it or not or deemed it blocking or not. If it's tagged conformance and we don't pass it, then that's bad.
Right. Yeah, and then of course the underlying assumption is that it's a valid test.
Sure. Yeah. So ones that I guess have never passed, and only got noticed because they got moved into a blocking bucket, we need to determine if the test is valid. I did want to mention something about the upgrade tests. There are at least 3 of the issues that I'm aware of where the failure is that a 1.9 test does not work when run against a 1.10 master, and it is because deprecated function was removed in 1.10. And so I didn't think that we ran tests from a previous branch against a 1.10 master, just because that requires you to go back and change previously released code when you remove a deprecated feature, which seems wrong. So at least 3 of the issues are that. There's just not a version check in the E2E test in 1.9, which shouldn't surprise anyone, but that's where those failures are coming from.
Yeah.
Speaking up, so the design of our upgrade EVE test was upgrade from one version to another version. And there were 2 suites. One ran the older EVE test, and the other one ran the new EVE test. So, for example, when we upgrade from 1.9 to 1.10, we want to make sure both 1.9 and 1.10 tests are working. If there are individual tests that is not supposed to run, we can maybe just add a Ginkgo skip with the feature tag into that specific EDE job, so that it does not run that specific EDE test.
So like for the example is the proxy EDE. So that tests about 50 different paths, and 7 of them have been deprecated since 1.2 and got removed in 1.10. And so we definitely still want to run the other 42 paths, but not the 7 that were deprecated and removed. But the only way to fix that is to go back and edit or release a new 1.9 or push something into the 1.9 branch, which again, like I said, seems backwards.
The 1.9 branch is still active, still supported.
That's like an active maintenance branch. It's strange to push changes to that for 1.10 development. And actually right now it's frozen because for stabilizing prior to an upcoming release. So,
yeah, I think it would be more weird if the tests weren't bundled so tightly with the code that's under test. But I think in this case, these kind of weirdness is just going to happen because there's not an external repository that contains these end-to-end tests or these acceptance level tests.
Yeah, I guess I would expect conformance tests changes to it to be reviewed for correctness. And so the 1.10 tests, we shouldn't be removing conformance tests unless there's agreement that the behavior shouldn't be tested anymore. And if you do that, then the 1.10 tests should suffice.
Okay. Is there something there we need to sort of come to some decision on? Is this getting into the policy realm, like sig test stuff, or
possibly part of it is practical. Like I said, there are at least 3 issues that won't be able to be closed until we change how we run upgrade tests or make changes into the release 1.9 branch.
Okay. All right. Sen, did you want to go through your stuff? You kind of already started, but you put a lot of...
Yeah. Sure. So the 2 major testing failing clusters were one is the serial suite. I opened 5, so I started to use the job serial suite failure as a umbrella issue, and I opened 5 more issues for individual test flakes. Hopefully each SIG will start to judge that and make them green. And for upgrade suite, so after the daemon set fix, the upgrade is it's actually successful now. So it's actually upgrade from 1.9 to 1.10 now. And now there are revealed more actual test failures. As Jordan mentioned, maybe some of them need to be further discussed. But I also opened a list of actual test failures. The other concern, maybe actual concern, is the downgrade test from master 219 is currently failing. I assigned to SIG cluster lifecycle, and hopefully they can judge that. In terms of the scalability suite, there is a SIG storage fix went in, and according to Shyam, that makes the test looks better, but he need to follow up to monitor if there's any performance degradation. Seems Caleb, you have a comment there?
Just looking at the log output from the tests, it's like the same two pods. One's like a metric exporter, another one's a Prometheus pod. They don't seem to be running. So I don't know if it's a scheduler specific problem or if there's some underlying infrastructure setup thing going on.
Okay, can you comment back on the issue and maybe
yeah, I can do that.
And take a look. Last thing on my list is the kubeadm suite is still failing. There are some Ben took some testing for fixing, but still it's failing like on cannot find kubeconfig. But I saw a previous comment that people are saying they want the SIG cluster lifecycle want to get rid of kubeadmin, like get rid of Kubernetes anywhere. I'm not sure if that test needs to stay inside master blocking.
Is there anybody here
comments there?
Got enough insight on that to be able to tell us if the plan is to keep it there? And I'm sorry, I'm missing like at least 1/3 of all the words because my stupid internet is really bad here.
Yeah, it's just if you click into the issue comment link, their SIG is saying they are trying to, they're getting rid of the Kubernetes anywhere. So I'm not sure if we want to keep the job inside the master blocking dashboard.
Okay. I guess we'll just have to sort that out then.
Yeah, I guess I can send it into I'll ping the SIG and see what they get. And guys, I'll also ping SIG cluster lifecycle about the upgrade test issue Jordan brought up, and see if we can get a better design or what's the action item would be for the 19 failures on the 192, 110 upgrade test. That's all I have.
Okay, thanks. Looking for docs updates here if anybody's got those.
I will add notes to the doc.
Okay.
Sorry, Jace, it's Jennifer, and I'm here. I joined late. Things are looking much better than they were on Friday. People have been super responsive to getting poked, and my biggest concern right now is a small handful of alpha features where I'm still not sure what's going on. But it also looks as though some of those issues have been updated since I checked this morning. I haven't had a chance to check again. So things are moving fast and looking good. And SIGDocs generally is doing a great job of getting PRs merged. So my biggest concern is getting the few straggling PRs in at all. Getting them merged by Friday, provided we get them in to merge, should not be a problem.
Okay, you broke up a lot on me there. Hopefully what you're saying is it sounds like it's on track.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, hotel Wi-Fi. Oy.
Oh, and but I guess for Jace, so you said, Jennifer, you said you were going to put the link to the document, the release notes draft in the burndown meeting minutes?
I'm doing docs, not release notes. I don't see Nick on this call, but I can ping him and ask him to do it.
Okay, thanks.
Ihor, I would like to circle around with you though, because it looks as though there's still a small handful of features, not just the stuff folks have mentioned up till now that might not make it in. So I want to be sure I'm understanding state properly. I want to spend my energy bothering people who need to be bothered, and not people who don't.
Yeah, so I've checked all the features that you have updated with the docs request, and I've noticed that some of them are really not making it to the release, including the Kubernetes TLS Bootstrap,
Yep.
which was actually one of the major features that was planned for this release from
Right.
the marketing perspective.
Right.
Yeah. So I also updated the spreadsheet with the features,
Okay.
removing them. So if you, I'm going to double check all of them because I'm currently working closely. I'm actively working on preparing the marketing material for Natasha and for the marketing team to push it forward. But if you'll find anything else that I could not notice in the features repo or in the spreadsheet, please let me know.
Okay. I added a note. I chose the one-line release note description column. I added a note about two of them that looked as though they might not make it in.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect.
And I think you did a strike through on one more. And then, I mean, the other thing folks might be interested in knowing, it looks like there's a whole clutch of storage related features that may be covered in existing docs PRs, and I'm just trying to find the right person to confirm this with. It looks like, a bit of a tangle from my perspective. So I'm going to track that one down too, I hope today.
Speaking about the storage features, Saad Ali from Google is the primary person who is responsible for storage deliverabilities at Kubernetes. So if nobody else is responding to you in the general communication, like in the features repo and the mailing threads, I can suggest you to ping him.
Okay,
there.
who's that?
I hope he can confirm everything that's happened with storage
Okay,
for this release.
cool. Thank you.
Great. Okay, let's see, what have we missed here? It looks like at the end here, somebody wrote the milestone command had a bug, but it's working now. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's it.
Cool, fantastic. Okay, anything else? One bit of part on my side is I'm at the Open Source Leadership Summit this week, so it's a little tricky for me having time and obviously crappy Wi-Fi. So Nick has volunteered to lead the meeting on Wednesday if I can't do it, which I probably cannot. So we'll see how that goes. Any other things that people want to talk about before we adjourn?
Just like to mention that I will be at Open Source Leadership Summit as well this week, so won't be able to join on Wednesday. I'll also have the specific community meeting on Friday, so it's unlikely for me to join there this meeting as well. But I'm always with you at the Slack channel.
I do like the idea of Ihor always being with us. I'm not going to follow. I'm going to deviate from the playbook and not fast forward the branch until things calm down on master. Just because I've introduced some instability on the release branch by fast forwarding. Then, unless anyone has any objections, I guess mostly you, Sen.
No
Cool. Well, I will carry on with that then, which is do nothing. So that's easy.
Yes, please keep doing the nothing you're doing. We definitely need more of
On
nothing.
it.
All right, cool. Anything else before we call it? Okay, great, everybody. Thank you so much again, and I'll hopefully catch up with you soon, and have a good meeting on Wednesday if I'm not there. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. See ya.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.